Have you ever found yourself driving and realized that you do not have your seatbelt on? This tends to happen to me more times than not, and it always seems to happen when I am really close to my destination or have already reached it. And I always just think to myself, well, I made it here okay. I wasn't in an accident, nothing happened, so I'll just wear it next time if I remember. But today we will take a look at the importance of wearing a seatbelt. When considering whether or not a seatbelt is important to you, there are three factors I have come across to help you decide. The first being your personal safety, the second, setting a good example, and the third being decreasing your chances of being one less statistic. Seatbelts may seem like a waste of time to some people, but studies have shown that this little action can truly save lives. Seatbelts are the first step you can take to making an accident less severe if you happen to be in one. One of my friend's parents had a personal encounter that made me think that maybe seatbelts weren't very important to me, and it was also the only story that I had heard that made me think maybe seatbelts weren't a good idea. My friend's mother was driving on a gravel road and she came over a hill and met a tractor head on, and she was not wearing her seatbelt, so the impact threw her actually onto the ground of her car. And so she wasn't hit by the tractor or anything. She was okay. She made it out okay with just a few bruises and scratches, thankfully. But the police had said that if she had her seatbelt on, she would have been strapped upward and easily decapitated. So that was the only time that I had actually thought maybe wearing seatbelts wasn't the best idea. But this action can really save your life. Seatbelts are your first defense against injuries or death, according to Lakewood. Another reason why wearing your seatbelt is very important is because your next generation looks up to you, and it's always like that. Little kids always look up to people my age, and so showing them that that's a good habit to get into would make it a better choice for them when they can drive themselves. Studies have shown that parents who wear their seatbelts regularly don't have to worry as much about their children and don't have to remind their children as much to wear their own seatbelts. And we all know that teenagers tend to look towards their friends for examples. And so if we have more kids around that regularly just put on their seatbelts without thinking about it, then hopefully the numbers can increase in how many people wear their seatbelts. Teenage drivers tend to underestimate hazardous driving situations and are less able than older adults to recognize dangerous situations when driving. That came from a car insurance agency, and I can't agree with it more because I feel like teenagers tend to think that nothing bad can happen to them, and so they like to drive stupid. And I myself can say that I have not always made the best decisions when it comes to driving. It seems like I always don't give myself enough time to get to a place, so I find myself speeding a lot. So if I decide to keep making those decisions, I think that seatbelts are very important. Car accidents have actually increased throughout the years, and they are one of the leading causes of deaths in teenagers. The severity of car accidents can easily be decreased when wearing your seatbelt. About 50%, 17,000 people, could be saved if they wore their seatbelts, and that comes from James Madison University. They did a study on the importance of seatbelts and found that 17,000 people could have been saved in 1 year. I think that the importance of wearing your seatbelt can outweigh the hassle in the long run. It's very important, and it's kind of not made as big of a deal as it should be, because I think that if people realized how much less of a severity of a car accident they can have, then they would wear their seatbelts more. Children need to be taught at a young age that this is very important because they are the next generation, and if people already now are having problems with keeping themselves safe, then the next generation is just going to be way worse than what we are now. According to Ornstein, a seatbelt can save a life in a car accident. So next time you find yourself debating whether or not to wear your seatbelt, you should definitely think of the pros and cons. And I hope that you decide to wear your seatbelt.